All right, we're going to be taking a look at how to find the longest side of a right triangle. So let's just talk about a right triangle for a second. I'm looking at the one that they're giving us in this IXL, and C is the side that we don't know. That side of the right triangle is called the hypotenuse. Okay? And then the other two sides of the triangle are called legs. Okay? And when we solve for a missing side on this triangle, we're going to use something that's called the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay? The Pythagorean theorem states that if you take the two legs, so this is going to be an L, and you're going to square it, the other leg, and you square it, that you get the hypotenuse squared. So it doesn't matter if you use capital L or lowercase l. Maybe I'll change them. So leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So let's fill in what we know. We know one is 9 and one is 12. So 9 squared plus 12 squared has to equal the hypotenuse squared. Remember, when we square a number, it's that number times itself. So in this case, it's 9 times 9, 12 times 12, and we don't know what h is yet. So 81 plus 144 gives us 225, and that equals h squared. When we solve equations, we talk about doing the opposite operation. So when we have multiplication, the opposite is to divide. When we have addition, the opposite is to subtract. When we square a number, the opposite is to take the square root of that value. Okay? So we're going to be taking the square root of 225 and the square root of h squared. The square root and the square cancel each other. Okay? So that's how I get left. I'm just left with h. The square root of 225 is on your calculator, and it looks like the square root button. You're going to have to put it in. Or you might know what number times itself gives me 225. 15. The square root of 225 is 15. So the missing side on this triangle is 15. We're going to use that same idea. Leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. If you want to use c in place of h, because the hypotenuse here is c, you can do that. So 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. So it's 25 plus 144 equals c squared. This gives me 169. How do we undo the square? We take the square root. So on your calculator, if you punch in the square root of 169, you're going to get 13, and 13 equals c. The two legs are 6 and 8. So 6 squared plus 8 squared has to equal c squared. $36 plus 64 is 100. And I'm hoping you're thinking, well, when we take the square root of 100, it's going to be 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. Two legs are 15 and 18, so 15 squared, or sorry, an 8 squared, not 18. And that's equal to c squared. 15 squared is 225. 8 squared is 64. 225 plus 64 gives me 289. I'm going to take the square root of 289, and c will equal 17. Hopefully you're saying I'm going to do 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So that's 9, and that's 16, which is 25 when I add it together. The square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so I don't think they're going to get any harder. They're just going to get, the numbers are going to get larger. Like, I have no idea what 63 squared is. It's 3,969 plus 16 squared, which I believe is 256. So we get 4,225 equals c squared. Take the square root, and you get 65. If you get any that you have trouble with or can't figure out, take a screenshot and send them to me in email.